The red one? Yeah. But it has right frontage.
Right. This is a regular meeting of the Tatum ISD. It is now 5:30 on November 13th, 2023. We have a quorum. Mr. Crawford will lead the pledge of allegiance, followed by Mr. Smith giving the invocation.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you that we can be able to be here this evening. Watch out over our community and our students and help guide and lead us over this meeting tonight. And these ask in your name. Amen.
Anyone sign up? The information.
Yes, Mr. Pat, you want to introduce our maintenance, transportation, and cafeteria director tonight. We thought y'all had not met them, and I think it would be good if they kind of tell you a little bit about them, kind of what they're working on and all that. So, pretty excited for them to be here tonight. Go ahead, Mr. Pat.
One of the reasons we wanted to make sure that they showed up tonight, between campuses and throughout the district, you know that we recognize employees. And in that recognition, there have been an outpour of people who have recommended these two individuals to be A+ employees, to bring some different ideas, being from the outside, and they brought in some new things, which has kind of given a spark. And so we're very delighted to have these two individuals to come and be a part of the district. With that being said, we have Mr. Todd Andrews. Would you stand? He's under maintenance and transportation. He's done an excellent job of getting on the ground and learning. Of course, there's a lot to learn and a lot of layouts that crooks and crannies and not knowing in the district that he's learning pretty fast here. Would you like to say anything?
Well, I'm just glad to be here. Glad to be involved. I appreciate the opportunity that Tatum District has given me to be a part of this great team.
Well, and he's not going to say a lot of good things that he can do. He can also certify bus drivers. And I've already had one superintendent from a neighboring district call and go, help. I understand you got the guy around here that can get people certified. So that, not every district has that person, and we're lucky to have him as our person that can do that. And he's come in, he's worked on, we were in a safety meeting earlier and we were talking about the locking system. He was one of the gentlemen that went to the training for that as well. So, he's not going to let us get pushed around, I can tell you that. So.
And I appreciate all the help you're giving to the Ag Barn. It was a mess, and I know that you've done a lot helping the training up there.
So, okay.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Ms. Vanessa Thompson. She got recently married, so she's the new food service director, and again bringing in something new ideas in the cafeteria. I think one of the principals said last week, that there's probably more kids eating now than we ever had in a while, so that's a good positive thing. Of course, we want kids to be able to come and cafeteria and eat, which is very positive. Ms. Vanessa Thompson, would you like to have anything to say?
Again, I'm happy to be here as Mr. Andrews is. It's been fun. There's some fun things going on. One of my characteristics is fearless, so I like new things. One of the things that we're doing that I've been talking to Richardson about is I applied for it as a grant. It's called a local food school foods grant. And it's something new that Texas is doing. They got $22 million from USDA, and they are going to disperse that throughout the schools that want to do local foods. Now, what that means is that if we have a producer, if Mr. Fife has peas on his property and he wants to sell them, and if we could put him in with a couple of other vendors and we find the best price, he has the best price, then we can actually purchase all of those peas from them. They want to get underutilized farmers and business owners in Texas. That's going to be the thing. And it's such a big deal for the Commissioner of Texas Department of Agriculture that he is actually going to personally contact Dr. Richardson and everyone that was granted the money for this. We won't know the exact amount of money until the 16th, which is this week. So once we find out that final amount, initially they said 150,000, then they changed it because a lot of people were very interested in this grant. It's only local people in Texas. So if I wanted something, as long as it's Texas, it could be that I could get food from Waco, as long as it's Texas. That's what they're considering to be local. And it doesn't have to be small schools. The grant started on November the 3rd, and we can start keeping paperwork for it. Because our milk distributor they are based out of another state, but because their cows are in Texas, we can actually use them to get the reimbursement, and it is free money. All we need to do is keep the invoices and keep the information and submit it to TVA. I did make a little handout that I want to give you. I know it's unofficial, but I can get you guys to have. So read more about that, and there's a website. If you want to know some of the farms that are locally on that website, it'll show you. Can go to the map and it'll show you those. Some of the other things that we're doing in our schools is we are trying to get kids excited about the meals, especially our high schoolers. Our high schoolers carry a lot of voice. And so one of the things we're doing is we're trying to make sure that we get things that are what we see in our restaurants, what we see on TikTok and some of these other things. Big things are bowls. And so you want a fajita bowl with beans and rice and a fajita meat right there. And then we're packaging it different. Some of the food is some of the same things, but we're packaging it in pretty little containers. And so they're eating it and they're swarming in. We get $74,000 last year and this year for our commodities, but we get even more money the more students that eat. So if we get our numbers up, even if it's a free, reduced, or paid student, it doesn't matter. The more students that we have that are eating, then next year we'll get more commodity food, which is free food for us. And so we want those numbers increased, not just for reimbursement, but for that as well. Any questions?
You know, I was telling her the other day that we've had lots of people send me pictures of food and say, hey, look at the portions now that we're getting.
Yeah, I got one last week on chicken and dressing day.
So
They're really excited. And we're getting lots of input from administrative staff, teachers, you know, they hear the students. And you're the parents also. So they're helping out with some of that by letting samples. Thank you.
So one of the reasons why, again, that you were asked to come here was, number one, you guys were nominated and by a majority of a lot of staff as A+ employees. So you guys will be receiving that. And with this, I'll say there was a mistake on it. That should have been It was told that I ordered some jackets for principals on principal month last month, and it was on a green jacket. So in the conversation of telling her it was a green jacket with a gold and white. Well, I said keep them the same. So they ended up being a gold tee with green. We fixed it up. So these two individuals, if you would stay in and you would get these in backpacks here. So on behalf of Tatum ISD, A+ employee, continue doing what you're doing, and you as well, Mr. Andrews. So we need to. No problem. Thank you.
Mr. Fowler, you, I take a picture?
Yes, we're waiting on.
Our photographer?
Yes. I think this is the first time we've actually had two with a majority of the vote. So this is a first. So we can say we made history.
Congratulations, y'all, and y'all are free to go. You don't want to get home. So, but thank y'all for coming. Congratulations once again.
Thank you so much.
I need a motion to approve this consent item as presented minutes of the regular board meeting of October 2nd, 2023. 2023-24 campus improvement plans. A motion by Mr. Crawford, second. Second by Mr. Skinner. Thank you, sir. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? None motion carries. Okay.
Next thing is our board goals. You'll recall that we have, I think it was about 2 or 3 years ago, we were required to have House Bill 3 board goals, and we were doing updates, sometimes every other month. And this past year, we decided we'd just give you one annual update. And so we're going to change that timeline. However, we don't have a lot of data. There is some data that's going to be missed out of some of the presentations tonight because the state, of course, has not released everything that they said they were going to release in August, then September, then October, and we're waiting now for November. So Ms. Hopkins is going to be presenting, and Ms. Watson as well. And I guess the first one is going to be CCMR. So, Ms. Watson, I will pull this up if you want me to.
So do you also have Ms. Hopkins' link
Yes, I
that
do.
she sent? If we can start there, and then that'll help everybody understand what the other
Okay.
stuff
You want this one?
is. No, it's called, is it called House Bill 3?
HB3.
HB3. It's a spreadsheet.
The one that says progress monitoring.
Yeah, there we
There
go.
we go.
And then the bottom where it says CCMR goal. Yeah, we'll start there. Okay, so when this first came out, there were some pretty low goals that were set, not just here, but everywhere, because the standard was different than what we think the standard is going to be going forward. And so one of the things, I think it was set when I got it and started working on it, it was from 58, because that's where we started, to 70%. Well, we know that 70% now is no longer an A, and 90 is an A, and so I did change that by 2024, we will be at 90% of our yearly target goal. And I think that is completely doable. I've already talked to you guys a little bit about what this year's accountability will be like based on the fact that CCMR is still using 2022 data from those graduates. And so we have not received this year's data yet. To show that, I have some numbers that I think are pretty accurate. But again, I taught reading in English, so my numbers might not be exact, but they're pretty close based on the data that we get. But I was able to update the breakdown of the gaps for yearly targets down there based off of some past accountability reports. And so you can see there how our students in 2019, 2020, and 2021 did, broken down by their ethnicities. And so we still, of course, that's all based off of how they did as a whole. And so we're not too far off. There are some gaps there, especially obviously with our economically disadvantaged and English language learners. There's some pretty big gaps that we need to focus on and work on. But again, we're still awaiting the exact accountability results for 2023, which is based off of the 2022 graduates. And then we hopefully will get our 2024 accountability, which will show the biggest growth because that's based off of last year's graduates. And that's when the rules changed and we put in a lot of things in place to make sure that we were going to have the numbers that we needed to be successful in CCMR. And then from here on out, it should fix itself just because of the things we put in place at the high school to fix that. So if you want to go over to that other document that I sent y'all, Dr. Richardson, this one. So this is my prediction based off of the raw data that was kept before I got here and how I was able to kind of add to it as the year went on last year based on the things we learned about CCMR and how our 2022 graduates ended up. Our overall CCMR prediction is around 51%. And so we knew that it was going to be rough. We knew that it wasn't going to be 90% because those kids were gone when that rule was made. But this is where we landed as far as accountability goes, I think, for 2023 in CCMR. There's another tab, which we don't have to go to right now, but it's basically a progress measure that looks at how many of your kids were CCMR for being college ready. And so those are your kids who either took dual credit courses in English and math, or 9 hours of dual credit for other subjects, or they are TSI ready because they took the TSI test and passed it, or they took a college prep class for English and math. And so in 2022, I don't believe that was offered to all of our students, the college prep course. That's one of the things we put into place last year, which is really going to help that number. But in 2022, the college ready number, what I think it will be is about 46%, okay? And then they broke it down to say of your CCMR numbers, which ones are considered CCMR based on their career ready or military ready. And based on 2022's graduates, I think it's going to be about 11%, okay? Again, this is just based off of our spreadsheet that Ms. Hopkins and I worked through when we were going through each of the kids' transcripts and different references and things. So there's also another progress measure that measures the workforce readiness of special education students. And based off of what I know of the class of 2022, we did not have any special education students meeting that. So that's where I think we will be when accountability comes out, whenever accountability comes out. So
Part of the lawsuit right now is based off of the CCMR and how the rule was changed this year, basically, and it was moved up to 80%. 88% from where it was before, and kind of moving the goalposts after we didn't know what
the kids had left the building. And they
and
changed
that's
it.
not right. And I really do think that part of what we're asking from the judge, and right now we do have an injunction that we won, is to revert back to the 21-22 measures. Don't go up to 88%. So we'll see how that goes.
If you go to the next slide, though, this is how I think we will do based off of the class of 2023. With the different things that we put into place last year, as far as offering our Texas College Bridge to all of our students who were not already CCMR. So they did college prep courses for English and math. So then they have been exempt from the TSI for certain colleges and universities. We will do that again this year, but that got a lot of our students to be in CCMR. And they were so happy when the college said, I need your TSI scores, and they said, let me send you my college bridge. And then they didn't have to test. They were very excited about that. So I think that our progress measure for the CCMR kids who are college ready will be about 70%. The progress measure 2 for CCMR for college and military ready will be about 41%. Now, the reason, 70 and 41 is not equal to 100, but you have some of those kids who are qualifying in both. And so that's about 10% of the kids that actually qualified in both. They got some sort of IBC, industry-based certification, and they also took dual credit courses. So they have both of those things, which is why it's 41. We still do not have the special education workforce readiness. So from what I have, we're still looking at 0% there, but hopefully we can start to make improvements there. But overall, I believe for accountability purposes, for next year's accountability for CCMR will be around 86%. So a lot closer to that A than we were in 2022. And this year's class, the class of 2024, for 2025 accountability is already sitting at 88%. And so we're going to get to 90 with this year's group no matter what, because we're already at 88 and it's November.
And they put some things in place for, the seniors that they had to make sure they had their CCMR, because, most seniors go home 11:30, I guess, noon. And so there's some things that they have to complete before as well. You want to talk a little bit real quick about last Friday? Was it Friday? Thursday?
Oh, I can.
Yeah.
So we had our very first CTE fair. Overall, it went really well. I think next year it'll be bigger and better. And so we had different industries come out and set up in our old gymnasium, and every student at Tatum High School filtered through there and got to meet and talk with some kids. I did a senior meeting today with a student who I said, so tell me about your future plans. And he said, I'm going into banking. And I said, oh, fabulous. You're the first one that's ever told me you're going into banking. And he pulled out the job description that they gave him, that Verabank gave him at the career fair, and said, this is what I have to do. I said, fabulous, let's do it. So he got a little clarity, and he was obviously a senior. A lot of our seniors kind of stood around and were like, well, I already know what I'm doing. And I want to say, you don't know what you're doing yet. Sorry. But they, we talked about, well, some of these jobs may be better than the jobs you're already planning on doing. And so why don't you go talk to them and see what the pay is and see what the education is, because a lot of these places will pay for you to go get the schooling you need to do the jobs that they have. Just go talk to them. And they're like, oh, I'm glad I went and talked to them. We had Eastman there. We had Kilgore College brought almost all of their workforce readiness departments to speak to our kids and talk about the different education that they offer to get them out in 2 years and ready to go into the workforce. We had Komatsu was there. They brought, if you saw any of the pictures, they have this huge tire display that we literally had to take a door apart to get it in. So it was kind of crazy. But Juicy Taco or the Juicy's came in and kids were filling out applications for work this summer. And so I said, y'all are going to have an influx of applications, but the kids were excited. So we just had a lot of, Verabank was there. So hopefully next year will be bigger and better. We may have to use 2 locations because we were pretty care-packed in that one area this year. But the kids were really excited, and the teachers said even when they got back to the classroom, they were talking about who they talked to and what they learned and what they want to be now. And so it was cool.
Bill, thank you, ma'am.
Do you have any questions? No? Perfect.
All right, Ms. Hopkins.
You will start. Okay, so this is just a little bit of a summary of the board goals report that we looked at. This is going back to our pre-K measures through our 3rd grade measures for reading and math specifically. 2 of the instruments that we are using have changed significantly. Y'all heard a lot about how STAR has changed, but we also went from what is called CLI, which is learning engagement system that we've been using in the past, and we changed that to an iStation assessment. So even though we have scores, we've changed the instrument, and the instrument's become a little bit more rigorous, so that we didn't see quite the improvement that we anticipated in those. On the 3rd grade, you said you're going to scroll, but I'm going to point out, so 3rd grade, I just want to, I know we've talked a lot about already that that STAR test has changed, and you do see a significant drop on that 3rd grade reading score. But remember, we're not comparing apples to apples anymore. We have a House bill report that was designed and came out of the 2019 legislature, and we have instructions to go through 2024 where they changed that instrument. So we're not comparing apples to apples. So I just want to make sure that I draw your attention to that. And the same thing on the 3rd grade math. You do see a drop there, but once again, we're not comparing apples to apples on that. So go ahead, you can switch to the next one. We don't need to go to progress monitoring goals because I summarized it in that one. If you want to go to just the test, are you ready for it? Yep.
This one or you want this one?
District accountability. It'll be fine. So I know y'all heard a lot of discussion about how we don't have data, we don't have data, we don't have data. There are some tools out there where we can take the scores that we have and we can plug them in. And Dr. Richardson knows that this format's been driving me a little crazy because Teal doesn't provide a printable option, so this is just a screenshot. But for the elementary school, overall, it does look like we're going to land at a C for their accountability measure. Now, this is just an estimate, and of course, the injunction that is out there could significantly change some of this information. But we do look like we've got a C for the elementary, a B, even if barely, but a B for the middle school, and then a C for the high school. Now, this is where it gets a little bit more significant. When you start looking at all of the accountability pieces and calculating those in the past, Some of those measures were divided. If you had 3 campuses, basically one campus was at 33%, another campus was at 33.3, and the third campus. So now those calculations are based on the enrollment for that campus, so our weights are a little bit different. So you'll see that the elementary just counts at about 29%, middle school 30%, and the high school 41%. You take all of that and you factor it in. You have your achievement domain. So there's 4 separate domains that we're looking at, or 3 domains. One of them has a part A and a part B. The achievement domain is the first one, and it looks like we landed a high C on that one at 78. Growth A, we get a 73. That's the one that's got so much contention out there right now, where the cut scores have changed so significantly. Part B for growth, and then this last one, relative performance, is almost a B at 79%. Then this is your, my brain just quit.
District closing the gaps.
Closing the gaps, thank you. That's what I was looking for, the CTG. We're a little bit low on there, and once again, that's where that growth component is coming in. But overall, when you put all of the things into place for a district, it is looking like we're going to be a C. Now, it's a 76.7 with the current cut scores. Now, this is based on the handbook that was published. Region 7 is saying we're not going to see a lot of changes to that handbook, but we do have litigation out there right now that could change that outcome. But for right now, I know that we haven't felt confident with our numbers, but based on the calculations from the handbook and based on the information that we've been provided to this point, I think we are going to land at a C, which is what we were expecting. We were expecting districts across the strait to lose a letter grade, just based on the new accountability measures. So one of our strategic plan goals is that it's 2.11, if you want to know that, is that we will compare our data specifically to the state. So if you'll notice here in the approaches category, which is that first string column, we exceeded state measures 80% of the time out of the 20 tests that were given. And that's pretty good. 80% of the time we exceeded for the approaches level. For the meets level, we were at 65% of the time. And for masters, 55% of the time, we were above the state level. So that's just one of the goals that we have for that. We haven't seen any, go ahead, let me scroll down. I'm trying to keep up. We haven't seen any major changes to our attendance rates. They're all falling kind of into that same 95, 96 range that we've had in the past. And our dropout rates and completion rates have stayed steady. So there's no changes to that as well. Any questions? We went very quickly through the accountability piece of it. There's a lot of details in that. I'm open to questions if anybody has any questions about that.
And y'all seen this? We
You have
showed this
seen
in
that.
August.
Yes. Now that's comparing Tatum to Tatum from
Yeah.
one year to the next year, and the other one was comparing Tatum to Texas.
Yeah.
So, we do have some areas that we can definitely, grow, and I think that we put some things in place with our curriculum instruction that we're going to see that. Yes.
All right. Miles got goal 4, business office.
Mine's a little simpler than Ms. Hopkins' license. And so just looking over a few of the goals we've had, some have been the same in the past, some have changed a little bit. Budget implementation and ongoing monitoring. Obviously, we use a couple different services, Region 12, Region 7. The one thing that I really want to maximize our auditors for this year is to look. There's something called accrual-based accounting, and it's basically where teachers earn more money than we pay them per month, so we can pay them in the months of the summer. And it's accrual. It's an accrual-based accounting, and not only with that, but it's also a payable fixed assets that I got to learn to. What we did this year, the first time we've actually had to carry some expenses over the switches and the AC, and it's from a booking standpoint, not really much, not necessarily cash, but just the booking of it, because we did order prior year and it came in current year. So I'm learning a lot from our auditors when it comes to that accrual-based accounting. So that's just a goal of mine, to learn that process at the end of the year. Maximize funding opportunities. obviously, we've got, and I know Ms. Thompson was gonna talk about the grant, but that's one of the goals that actually, I guess she's somewhat under me, so it was part of one of my goals to try to secure more grants. Obviously, Jeff Malone does a lot, part of that, Kiko Jones, Russ County, and Vanessa is such a great asset. She is doing a tremendous job. So another goal is to maintain adequate fund balance. You see our history there. It will go down due to the projects we did last year. If you'll scroll down, we'll talk about those projects. The district-wide locks, the roof, phase 1 of the roof at high school. We are still replacing those AC units. They're not quite in yet, so when they get in, we'll put those in. We've got the network switches in, and the playground at the the primary, it's been renovated to where it's safe, based on the safety audit that we have. And so, I believe, is that all my goals?
That's all your goals. We do have the first report that I skipped over.
Yes, sir.
Um,
So the first report obviously just really it tells us how financially stable we are.
I don't have it.
That's good. I can link it because it's the same.
Yeah.
So basically, the last 2 years, we've had perfect scores except for one. I think it was indicator 6. There's 20 indicators. They only graded us, so to speak, on 16. So indicator 6, we didn't meet the ceiling on it because if you remember a couple years ago, we assigned some fund balance to construction and COVID-related costs. When we assign that fund balance, it means it's assigned to something specific. So on the first report, they look at our fund balance that's not assigned, which was real low. And so you can only make an 89 on the first report if you don't have enough fund balance that's not assigned. So this first report that we made 89 on, that we're talking about, that's the 21-22 year that we're talking about, because it's the last audited year. So next year, we'll talk about the same first report, we're gonna have the same score, because that fund balance was still assigned in this past year. So we're kind of 2 years behind. I think it was a couple months ago, we unassigned it back to fund balance. And if you remember, we did that, so the first report won't be reflective of the maximum of that 89, we'll get the maximum 100.
And you'll recall, the reason we did that was there was speculation down in Austin that they were gonna make you use your fund balance to make up the deficits. They weren't gonna fund it, so we quickly moved it over and designated it so they couldn't touch that. But everybody that did that got dinged on it, so.
Yeah, there's no somewhat repercussions, there's no funding loss based on the first report in that case. But again, that problem will be there again next year, and then the year after that, that'll be gone. And they may change indicators by then, because we started out with 12, now we have 20. All right, so annual investment report. Now, this is really not an investment report, but I still feel like we need to talk about this because we don't invest, but we do have some interest-bearing money markets that this TEA doesn't call it investing. So, but still, I want to look at the main thing is that, go back up to the interest earned column. Okay, so last September, a year ago, we had about almost $7 million in there, so we got about $10,000 in interest that month. But if you notice, look at the rates. And we ended up making $32,000 in August, just in interest, based on that $6.5 million. And so that really helped us out. And I did budget for that this coming year. So in the budget, I am anticipating keeping those rates up. It was kind of a blessing last year, but this year we're going to try to maintain hopefully those interest rates around 3 to 5%. This is just a different bank account. It's our debt service bank account. If you go to the bottom, it has a summary. So that's how much interest we made last year. Now that was on about $8.5 million. Our fund balance has gone down because of all the projects we've done, so we're not anticipating making that much interest, but the percentage rate we hope stays up. The rate of return.
You're up.
All right, so
This is action item for something.
yeah, so on the December check, Dr. Richard and I felt like it was something that we want to do for our employees is do a supplementary payment to all employees, except for Rush County, they're a separate entity that did their own. For all employees of in the amount of $300. That's all full-time, all part-time, everybody across the board. Flat rate of $300. And so what I'm gonna need is, to ask us to increase the budget in those specific functions as presented for a total amount, if you scroll to the bottom, total amount of 66.8. That should cover the check that they get, $300, plus we bumped it up a little bit to cover taxes, so they're getting a flat check for $300. Now, it will be a separate, it might be the same ACH to the bank, but I need to approve a budget increase of $300 per employee.
All right, do I have a motion to approve the budget amendment, increasing the budget in Fund 199-240, not to exceed $66,800 according to the diversity of one-time supplement pay of $300 to a full-time and part-time Tatum ISD employees, excluding the Russ County Cooperative as presented. Okay. Have a motion by Ms. Amy.
Second.
Have a second by Mr. Smith. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed, none, motion carries.
That would be the December check.
Thank you, sir.
Does that mean?
That's Mr. Fife next. Shaq.
Every year, we have to come before the board to present the members that will be representing the district for the SHAC committee. I'm the chair of the committee. I have Ms. Cooper. She's co-chair. She pretty much deals with it and handles a lot with it and reaching out. And we have quite a few people who trying to get people involved in this is not an easy task. However, she beat the bushes and the highways and the byways and get people to be involved. And right now, currently, there are a lot of people who can't attend, so we do a Zoom to allow them to come to be able to participate. But these are the members that's recommended from to meet that requirement of the people who need to serve on there. All those people meet that requirement. We are meeting that requirement, and to make sure that those people continue to be involved, because this is a very important committee, which deals with a lot of things within the district when it comes to health and safety and those type of things. So we want to make sure these individuals that are recommended to get approved, that as we move forward to help the district go in the right direction.
All right, need a motion to approve the Cole School Health Advisory Council SHAC members for 2023-24 as presented. I have a motion.
Yeah.
I have a motion by Ms. McElwain, that's second. Second by Mr. Williams. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? None, motion carries.
Next item you have is to Senate Bill 763, this last legislative session, allow school districts, instead of hiring counselors, you can hire chaplains. This will be a vote that will be a recorded record vote, basically. Each of you will have your name called out, and you will have to say yay or nay. But I will tell you, from an administration standpoint, we feel like our counselors are more suited. They've been trained how to handle any type of issues that come up with the children. They can do scheduling for kids. The concerns with chaplains is there's no training for them. We all have different religions, and you get a chaplain with a certain religion, and that might be expressed towards a student coming to that person for guidance and help. That could cause a concern for us. We have to use our safety money. If we do this, we cannot just take money that's in the budget to pay them. We have to designate safety money for that. And so it is our recommendation that we do not do this. But open for any discussion if y'all feel differently about it. That would be my recommendation, administration's recommendation. that if we're gonna have counselors, we're gonna have real counselors.
Do we even have any local chaplains
I mean, would,
that are actually involved
we,
in school?
we call chaplains in anytime there's a crisis. We have any type of student death, we will call them in. We have a few here, but I don't even know if they would even want to do it. If we even asked them to come in and be a full-time employee, basically, or volunteer full-time. So, Mr. Adams might. So that is our recommendation, is that we do not. So when he calls your name, if you will say yea or nay. I think I'm doing that right, Ms. Sloan, right?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
sir.
And I don't know if y'all ever had to do this. I've never had to do this before, but that's what they're calling a record vote, so. Board yours.
Ms. Amy,
Nay.
Mr. Smith,
Nay.
Ms. McElwain,
Say,
Mr. Skinner,
Nay.
Mr. Crawford, Mr. Williams,
Nay.
and Mr. Adams votes nay.
All right, next item we have is to the Panola County Appraisal District Board of Directors. There are 36 votes that we have. And these are the gentlemen that are on that list. Once again, I think we've done it. We've given all our votes to one person, or you can spread them out. I did receive a phone call about Keith Williams, somebody was expressing that they were going to be doing all their votes for that person. But again, this is not a superintendent recommendation. I'm just relaying a phone call that I received. So, but this is a board's discretion.
I'll make a motion to give all the votes to Keith Williams.
I second it.
I second it.
You know.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Crawford, seconded by Ms. Amy. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? None motion carries.
Next one is Russ County Appraisal District. Our very own Clifford Harkless has shown interest in that position. And we have 601 votes for that. Again, administration does not have a recommendation, cannot give that, but I'm just letting you know that I had visited with Mr. Harkless. He has shown an interest.
I make a motion to give all our votes to Mr. Harkless.
601, 601?
601.
Person I saw, I seconded.
Okay, we have a motion to give all 601 motion Mr. Parker by Ms. Amy. We have a second by Mr. Smith. Any further discussion? All in favor? All opposed? None motion carries. Okay. Board will now convene to a closed meeting to discuss the following items posted on our agenda this evening as allowed by the Texas Government Code, Chapter 551.074, personnel matters and attorney consultations as allowed by Texas Government Code 551.071. No vote will take place in closed meeting. Any action the board wishes to take as a result of discussion in closed session will take place after the board reconvenes in open meeting. It is now 6:14 p.m.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everybody.